Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore the world of wealth?
Sounds good.
We're diving deep into Scott Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth.
It's more than just money, you know.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
connects finances with like personal growth and career choices and even
Stoic
plus
philosophy.
a lot of philosophy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how he starts with the big why, like why even bother pursuing wealth?
Right. Is it just about the money or is there something
It's
deeper?
yeah. Hmm.
He really pushes back against the idea that wealth is automatically bad.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that being financially secure gives you control and freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to make choices that actually line up with your values.
And I think we've all felt that weight of like financial instability at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That feeling of not having enough
Totally.
can be really limiting.
It is.
Yeah.
He even shares a story from his own childhood
Yes.
about growing up with financial insecurity, and he doesn't sugarcoat it at all.
Talks about the anxiety, the shame even.
That feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good reminder that money, while often seen as just a tool,
Mm-hmm.
can really have a big impact on our emotions and well-being.
For sure. I think that story really sets the tone for the whole book.
Yeah.
He's not saying just go out and like
Get as much money as you can.
amass tons of wealth.
Yeah.
He's talking about reaching a level of financial security
Right.
that frees you from those anxieties and limitations.
It's about living a life
Yeah.
where you're not constantly worried about money.
Yeah, he also tackles consumerism head on.
Oh, yeah.
That pressure to buy things we don't need.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Right, just to show off or whatever.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is, especially with all the
Yeah.
messages we see every day telling us to buy more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that really resonated with me was his idea of 2 jackets and a glove.
Oh, interesting.
It's based on this childhood experience of losing a glove
Huh.
and feeling this like overwhelming panic. Oh, I can imagine. It illustrates how early experiences with money and scarcity
Yeah.
can shape our financial behaviors for years and years.
It's like those early experiences kind of leave a mark,
They do.
even if we don't realize it.
Yeah, subconscious almost.
So how do we break free from those patterns and start making better choices about our money?
That's where building character comes in.
Yeah.
Galloway says financial success isn't just about the mechanics of money.
It's not.
It's about developing inner strength and resilience
Oh, interesting.
to make good decisions even when things get tough.
So we can weather the storm.
Exactly. I'm getting a real Stoic vibe here.
You're right on.
He draws a lot from Stoic philosophy, urging us to focus on what we can control.
Like our actions and reactions.
Exactly, not external circumstances.
He even says that working hard just for the sake of it
Yeah.
can be kind of pointless
He calls it
if it's not driven by a bigger purpose.
economic masturbation.
Okay, definitely going to remember that one.
Yeah.
So how do we cultivate this Stoic character?
Well, he offers some really practical advice,
Okay,
starting with slowing down
so down.
and being more mindful of our decisions. It's so easy to just go through life on autopilot.
Yeah, just making choices based on instinct or emotion.
Exactly, instead of thinking things through.
Right. He wants us to become more aware of those little everyday choices, like hitting snooze or buying things we don't really need.
Yeah, and remind ourselves that we have the power to choose differently.
It's about taking back control,
Right.
not letting our emotions or habits control us.
Exactly.
He also talks about the importance of finding trusted advisors,
Oh, yeah, having those mentors or friends.
people who can give us honest feedback
Right.
and help us stay grounded.
Especially as we start to gain more wealth and influence.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in your own world
It is. Having those trusted voices can keep us from making decisions
that we might regret later.
that aren't aligned with our values.
So it's not just about individual character.
Right.
It's about surrounding ourselves with the right people.
Exactly. He even gives a fun tip I really like.
Okay, what is it?
Tip well.
Tip well.
It's a small act of generosity,
Right.
but it can have ripple effects.
How so?
It can improve service, boost your mood,
I like that.
and maybe even make you live longer.
Really?
Some research suggests it.
Okay, I'm sold.
It's a great example of how even small choices can reflect our values
Mm-hmm.
and have a positive impact.
I love that. And speaking of surrounding ourselves with positive influences,
Yeah,
he also talks about making rich friends,
he does.
not in a superficial way,
No, not at all.
but because they can be good role models for managing wealth.
Exactly. We learn by watching others,
Mhm.
and who better to learn from than people who have already achieved
What we want to achieve.
what we aspire to.
Exactly. He also encourages breaking the taboo around talking about money.
It's so important.
That is.
But we often avoid it.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Maybe it's seen as impolite.
Or maybe we're afraid of judgment
Yeah, but open conversations about finances can help us learn from each other.
and overcome limiting beliefs.
Exactly.
It's about normalizing those conversations.
Right.
Money is such a big part of our lives.
It is. It's like the operating system of society.
Exactly. Pretending it doesn't exist or that we shouldn't talk about it
Yeah.
just creates more confusion and anxiety.
By talking about it openly.
We can take away some of the mystery
For sure.
and start making more empowered choices about our money.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the why of wealth and building a strong character.
Mm-hmm.
What's next on Galloway's roadmap to financial freedom?
Well, before getting into saving and investing,
Okay.
he stresses the importance of tracking,
Tracking.
not just our spending, but also our time.
Interesting. How you mean?
He wants us to treat our personal finances like a business
Oh,
with regular reports.
like a profit and loss statement.
Exactly. I love that analogy.
Me too. It makes personal finance sound so much more,
Professional.
yes.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin with this?
He introduces the concept of a waterline budget.
A waterline budget. What's that?
It's a baseline budget
Okay.
that covers all your essential expenses.
The bare minimum you need to live comfortably.
Exactly. He says to think of it like the waterline on a ship.
Okay. I can see where he's going with this.
It's the level below which you can't afford to sink.
That's a powerful image.
It helps you understand how important it is to know.
How much you need to stay afloat.
Exactly.
But what about goals beyond just surviving?
Good question.
Like saving for a house or retirement?
Right, that's where the two buckets come in.
2 buckets.
He suggests dividing your remaining savings into 2 buckets.
Okay.
The intermediate bucket and the long-term bucket.
What goes in each bucket?
The intermediate bucket is for goals that are further out,
Okay.
but still within a foreseeable time frame.
So things like a down payment on a house?
Yes. Or your kid's college fund.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a career change.
And what about the long-term bucket?
That's for your ultimate financial freedom.
Like retirement?
Exactly. Savings and investments that'll let you live comfortably.
Without having to work.
Precisely.
So it's all about being intentional and strategic with our money.
It is, knowing where it's going and why.
And making sure we're contributing to both buckets consistently.
Exactly. Even if it's just small amounts at first.
He's a big believer in the power of compound interest, right?
Oh, yeah. He really emphasizes how even small, regular contributions
Can grow over time.
can grow significantly over time.
It's like planting a seed and watching it grow into a tree.
I like that analogy.
So we've laid the groundwork. Understanding why wealth matters. Building character. And getting a handle on our finances.
Well, yes.
I'm ready to hear more about how to actually make our money grow.
Me too. Let's dive into the exciting world of investing. Welcome back to our deep dive into Scott Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth.
Glad to be back.
We've covered building that solid financial foundation
Right. And,
and those character traits for long-term success.
yeah, like that stoic mindset.
Exactly.
So now what?
Now let's see how those principles play out
Okay.
in the world of work and career choices.
I'm excited for this part.
It's a good one.
Galloway's perspective on work is so refreshing.
It is. He's all about practicality.
Yeah. He's not chasing some
Not some fluffy.
elusive passion.
Right.
It's about finding a path that works for you.
Yeah, that gives you stability.
And satisfaction.
Both.
Yeah.
One of the things that really hit me was his emphasis on choosing the right partners,
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
both in life and work.
He says it's one of the most important
Arguably the most important.
economic decisions you'll ever make.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Having a supportive partner can make all the difference.
Whether it's a spouse?
Right. But he's not just talking about romantic relationships.
No, it's broader than that.
It's about your whole team.
Exactly. Finding people who share your values
People who support your goals.
and complement your strengths.
Could be your spouse, a business partner, even close friends or mentors.
Yeah, your inner circle.
It's like building a network that lifts you up,
Right.
helps you grow,
And challenges you to be better.
both personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to romantic partnerships specifically,
Yeah.
he has this interesting idea about finding balance
Oh, yeah, the taking turns thing.
over the course of your lives, like taking turns prioritizing work and family
It acknowledges that we don't have to have it all figured out
at every stage.
at once.
Right. It's a more flexible approach.
I like that.
Life is a marathon, not a sprint.
Nice,
Okay.
for sure.
Now, let's talk about finding the right career path.
Okay.
I love how Galloway debunks the myth of following your passion.
It's such a romantic notion,
It is, but
but not always realistic.
yeah. So what does he suggest instead?
He says for most people,
Mm-hmm.
it starts with identifying your talents.
Okay, those things you're naturally good at
Right, and then figuring out how to use them.
in a way that creates value.
Exactly.
It's about finding that sweet spot between
Right.
what you're good at and what the world needs.
I like that.
And he has some really insightful questions to help you figure out your talents,
Oh, yeah, like reflecting on past
both
experience.
successes and failures.
Mm-hmm.
What roles do people ask you to take on?
Where have you excelled?
Where have you struggled?
What makes you lose track of time?
Those are great questions to think about.
It can be hard to know what our talents are.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some real soul searching.
Definitely.
He also encourages experimenting.
Trying new things.
Yeah,
Being open to the possibility
that your talents might be
that they might be hiding in unexpected places.
like that analyst who wanted to be a strategy guy
But ended up finding success
and then number.
in quantitative analysis.
So sometimes our strengths are where
Yeah.
we least expect them.
Absolutely. And no matter what your talents are,
Yeah.
he stresses communication skills.
Oh, that's so important,
It is.
especially in today's world.
He says being able to articulate your ideas clearly is becoming even more valuable
Than traditional hard skills.
in some fields even.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
But it makes sense.
So how can we improve our communication skills?
Well, he recommends things like public speaking, taking
Wow.
writing courses, even creating videos or podcasts.
That's meta.
And he emphasizes visual communication too.
Like design.
Yeah, he points out that the CEOs of both Airbnb and Snap
Really?
graduated from design schools.
That's fascinating.
It shows how design thinking is becoming so valuable.
Okay, now what about those of us who are drawn to entrepreneurship?
The startup dream.
Galloway's pretty realistic about it.
He acknowledges that it's romanticized, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not for everyone.
Right, it takes a certain kind of person.
He says most successful entrepreneurs
Mhm.
aren't just risk takers.
They have a unique set of
They have a unique set of traits and circumstances.
that makes them suited for that world.
Exactly.
It's not just about the idea.
It's about the execution.
Yeah, the grit, the
And
resilience,
the tolerance for chaos.
because startups can be chaotic.
Oh,
He's also very clear about the failure rate.
most startups don't make it.
So he encourages aspiring entrepreneurs to really think about the risks.
Mm-hmm.
He even suggests that for some people,
Yeah.
working at a stable company
Like Google
and pursuing their passion on the side,
could be a smarter move.
it's about being honest about your risk tolerance
Right.
and finding a path that aligns with your goals.
And your personality.
Now, what about those of us who aren't interested in the corporate world
Mm-hmm.
or the startup world?
Good question.
What other options are out there?
He highlights some really interesting alternative paths.
Like what?
The gig economy, skilled trades,
Okay.
even careers in public service,
Or academia?
or the arts.
I like that he encourages thinking outside the box.
It's about finding what fits you.
Not just following the traditional path.
Exactly, but no matter what path you choose.
There will be challenges.
Oh, for sure.
So how do we navigate those obstacles?
He emphasizes grit and perseverance.
It's not enough to just have talent and desire
You need that stick-to-itness.
and a relentless pursuit.
Even when things get tough.
He also talks about the growth mindset
Yeah, believing that you can develop your abilities.
through hard work and learning.
Exactly. And he suggests finding ways to make the work itself rewarding.
Not just chasing external rewards.
Right, finding the joy in the process.
I love that. Now, what about changing jobs?
That can be a tricky one.
How do we know when it's the right time to make a move?
He says to ask yourself if the next move offers strategic value.
What does that mean?
Does it give you a chance to learn new skills?
Or expand your network.
Gain valuable experience?
That will help you in the long run.
He cautions against changing jobs just for the sake of it
Because it can hurt your reputation.
and make it harder to find fulfilling work later on.
So each move should be intentional,
And strategic.
aligned with your long-term goals.
Exactly.
He also emphasizes loyalty to people.
Not companies.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because companies often prioritize their own interest.
Whereas relationships with mentors
And colleagues.
can provide lasting value,
Exactly. Those connections are what matter.
no matter what field you're in.
For sure. And finally,
Okay.
he offers some advice on graduate school.
That's a big decision for a lot of people,
He acknowledges that some professions require advanced degrees.
like doctors and lawyers.
Right. But he cautions against going just for the credential.
It's important to weigh the costs and benefits,
Think about the lost earning
the opportunity cost,
and explore alternative paths.
to acquiring those skills.
Maybe there's a better way,
So it's about making sure graduate school is the right fit.
both personally and financially.
I like that. He really wants people to make informed choices.
He does.
And remember, no matter what path you choose,
Building a fulfilling career takes time and effort.
and a willingness to learn and adapt,
It's a journey.
not a destination.
Well said. And speaking of journeys,
Yes.
I'm excited to continue exploring Galloway's insights,
Me too. Let's move on to the final part of our deep dive
where we'll uncover the secrets of investing.
and learn how to make our money work for us. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Scott Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth.
We've made it.
We have. We've talked about building character, finding a fulfilling career, and getting a handle on our finances.
Right, the groundwork.
Now it's time to unlock the secrets of investing
Let's do it.
and learn how to make that money work for us.
This is where Galloway really shines, you know.
With his finance background,
Yeah, he demystifies investing,
goes down.
makes it understandable and interesting.
I'm ready to become a savvy investor.
Let's go.
Where do we start?
He starts with a basic principle. Yeah. Understanding the time value of money.
Okay.
$1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow
Why is that?
because of compound interest.
Ah, the magic of compounding.
He describes it like a snowball rolling downhill.
Okay.
Start small, but as it gathers more snow,
It gets bigger and bigger.
it gains momentum, grows exponentially.
I'm starting to see the power of compound interest.
It's a powerful force.
But I've also heard about inflation
Oh, yeah.
and how it can eat away at our savings.
Inflation is a tough opponent.
So how do we protect ourselves from that?
Galloway says our investments have to outpace inflation.
So it's not enough to just save
Right. We have to invest in a way that generates returns.
that are higher than the rate of inflation.
Exactly. That's where understanding asset classes comes in.
Okay.
Galloway takes us on a tour of the investment landscape.
Starting with the basics,
Stocks, bonds, real estate.
let's start with stocks. I know they represent ownership in a company, but how do they actually make money?
Two main ways: dividends and capital appreciation.
Okay, what are dividends?
Dividends are payments made to shareholders.
Like a share of the profits. And capital appreciation.
That's when the stock price goes up.
So if a company does well and its stock price increases.
You can sell your shares for a profit.
Okay, got to know. What about bonds?
Bonds are a bit different.
Okay,
They're essentially loans.
to governments or corporations.
Right. They offer a fixed rate of return.
So they're less risky than stocks,
Generally, yes.
but they also have lower potential returns.
That's the trade-off.
Okay, what about real estate?
Galloway calls it the emperor of asset classes
Why is that?
because it offers a unique mix of benefits.
Like what?
Income generation.
Through rental properties.
Right. And capital appreciation as property values rise.
It's also a tangible asset.
You can see it, touch it, live in it.
It feels more real than a stock certificate,
He encourages thinking beyond just your primary residence.
like rental properties or commercial real estate.
There are also real estate investment trusts, or REITs.
What of those?
They allow you to pool your money with other investors and invest in a diversified portfolio of properties
So you can get exposure to real estate.
without having to buy a whole building.
That's interesting. What about those other investments I've heard of, like commodities,
Commodities are raw materials.
like oil and gold?
Right, agricultural products too.
Their prices can fluctuate a lot,
They can be volatile for sure.
driven by things like supply and demand,
Geopolitical events.
even the weather.
So they're a higher risk investment.
What about derivatives? Those seem even more complex,
Derivatives are financial instruments that get their value from an underlying asset.
like a stock or a bond,
Exactly. They can be used to hedge against risk.
or to speculate on price movements.
Galloway cautions against derivatives for new investors.
It sounds like you need a lot of expertise.
He compares options trading, a type of derivative, to
Yeah.
gambling,
Oh, I see.
high potential rewards.
But also high risk,
He suggests sticking to more traditional investments.
unless you really know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Now, I've heard a lot about ETFs lately.
Exchange-traded funds.
What are those exactly?
They're like a basket of stocks or bonds.
Okay.
You can gain exposure to a specific sector
Like technology or healthcare
or a geographic region.
with just one investment.
Right. It's a way to diversify your portfolio.
Conveniently and cost-effectively.
Exactly.
So instead of picking individual stocks,
Which can be risky,
I can invest in an ETF that tracks a broader market index.
like the S&P 500.
And because they're passively managed,
The fees are usually lower.
this all makes sense.
Good.
But I'm still feeling a bit overwhelmed.
It's a lot to take in.
What are some key things to remember about investing?
Galloway emphasizes a disciplined and rational approach.
No emotional decisions.
Right. Fear and greed can lead to bad choices.
So stay calm and think long-term.
Exactly. He also stresses diversification.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
He compares it to wearing Kevlar.
An interesting analogy.
One bullet might get through one layer.
But multiple layers protect you.
And most importantly, he encourages a long-term perspective.
Patience and consistency.
Building wealth takes time,
It's a marathon.
not a sprint.
He reminds us that even experts make mistakes.
It happens.
The key is to learn from them.
Adapt and keep going.
This deep dive has been so insightful.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I feel like I have a much better grasp on investing now.
That's great to hear.
What are your final thoughts?
Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth is more than just a finance book.
It's a guide to living a richer life.
Exactly. He shows you how to build character
Find fulfilling work.
and make smart financial choices.
It's about achieving financial security.
And the freedom to design a life you love.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, remember,
Yeah.
wealth is within your reach.
Take that first step.
And start building your own legacy of financial well-being.